And how many of you can relate to getting started on a goal, whether that's working a budget, whether that's doing something regarding a business, an income, whatever that is, and you found yourself not following through? Anybody relate to that? Anyone ever do that before? Yeah, absolutely, all the time. And why is that? It's because you don't have a solid, juicy, amazing emotional why. You have to have a solid, juicy, emotional, heart gripping. You are pricked when you think about this. It has to bring you to tears, people. Okay. If you don't have a why and a goal that brings you to tears, good luck. Good luck. It has to be something that really, really, really pricks you. If you want to do create, now I'm not, now if you want to do something small, like not that big of a deal, okay, cool. But if you want to do something that's going to change generations of people, if you want to do something that's going to lead millions of people to Christ, it's got to be big. It's got to grip you like you've never been gripped. It has to captivate you like you've never been captivated. It has to rip your heart to shreds at the thought of not having that thing. It has to be that big. It has to be huge. It has to be something that just, again, like I said, the thought of not having it, it wrecks you. It destroys you. And so that's what we're going to talk about. But I want to talk about what's the biblical backing for this? Where do you see this in scripture? And I want to start with the Apostle Paul. This guy went through some of the most suffering that I can ever imagine any human being can go through. And what I want to do is talk a little bit about what was Paul's outlook? How did he get through it? I mean, you guys know his story, right? I mean, he had a pretty cushy life. Things were going pretty great. He was high on the hog. Jesus knocks him off his horse. He goes through a ton of suffering. He goes through it. And so, how did he get to Rome? How did he get before? Like, I mean, you think about how did he get in front of all of these influential people? How did he literally become somebody that now is recognized across the entire world? I mean, you guys want influence? That's influence. We're still reading what he wrote thousands of years later, right? I mean, this guy, but how did he do that? What happened? What gripped him? What got a hold of this guy? Well, and there's so many different verses. I mean, we could do a whole Bible study on this for hours, but I want to just talk a little bit about what drove him, right? What drove him to go through shipwrecks? You remember how many times the man got flogged? How many, stoned, imprisoned, left for dead? I mean, this he went through everything. How did he push through? Do any do any of you think that your challenges right now and your temptations to want to quit on your goals are that big? As big as his, right? Talk about setbacks. I think he qualifies as having some of the worst setbacks that you could possibly have as a person. So we'll start with First Corinthians 9. So here we go. Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Someone put prize in the chat. Okay. That's what we're talking about. The prize. It's the thing in front of him. Every athlete exercises self control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. So here's the point I'm trying to make. Everyone looking at this, what was his focus? Oh, there goes the beep again. What was his focus? Okay. What was his focus? It was the prize. It was this imperishable wreath. It was the thing where he talks about in Corinthians, he does not looking at the past, but he presses on toward the upward call of God in Christ Jesus, right? He's thinking about when I get to heaven. It's this imperishable wreath, this hearing this well done, good and faithful servant. That was the thing that drove him to do everything that he did. He didn't do it aimlessly. How many of you feel, if you're being honest, on a day in and day out basis, when it comes to your why for achieving your financial goals, you feel a little aimless? You feel like you're kind of wandering and just kind of drifting and reacting. You're not really being intentional. How many of you can relate to that some days? I know I do some days. Any honest people here? Okay. I feel that way too sometimes. And so, what anchors me? What gets me back on purpose? Because if I'm not on purpose, guess what I'm focusing on? I'm focusing on this person's upset with me. I'm focusing on my ads got shut down. I'm focusing on I had this random bill come up that I wasn't expecting. I'm focusing on you name it, right? There's, this one person had a complaint. I'm focusing on there's so many this person wrote me a nasty comment on an ad. I mean, there's so many things that can pull me away from my purpose and my focus. And if I allow that to happen, I start to get angry, I get disappointed, I get anxious, I get overwhelmed, I get defeated, I get depressed. Can anyone here relate to that? Have you ever been through that? Right. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you get reoriented. And we're going to do that a little bit more in a very practical, it's going to be really awesome emotional exercise. So hang tight with me. But I want to talk a little bit about why we're doing this from a scriptural perspective. So Paul's super fuel, his rocket fuel, it was the prize. It was this imperishable really wreath. It was love. It was love for God. It was love for other people. This man wanted people to be saved like nobody's business. And that's what drove him to do all this craziness that he did. Right. So we've got that one passage here. All right, here's the next one. All right, so obviously Paul is a great example, but who's even more of a great example? It's our Lord. It's Jesus. So if we look at Hebrews 12, a lot of you are familiar with this verse, but I think it's really important. A lot of us don't think of it in this light. So he says, "Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely." And here I'm going to pause real quick. I can tell you is part of being a Christian coaching company is the fact that when we talk about what's holding you back from your reaching your financial goals, we also talk about sin. We talk about sin, right? How many of the reasons why we're stuck here? It's because of sin. It's because of disobedience. It's because of selfishness. It's because of greed. It's because of idolatry. It's because of covetousness. Has anyone ever made a bad purchase because they were not motivated by love or by righteousness, but they were motivated by greed or they were motivated by trying to fill a void that only God could fill? Anyone ever do that? I know I have. Any honest people, raise your hand, right? That's part of what gets us in trouble financially. It happens, right? I would also argue that not wanting to earn more, have a bigger impact, that you got to ask, is that love or is that selfishness? And we're going to talk more about that in the next passage, which is really going to whack you between the eyes, like it does for me when I look at it. But how do we lay aside every weight which clings so closely to us? How do we run with endurance the race that is set before us? Well, we look to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. And when we look to him, what do we see? For the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame. How did Jesus lay aside every weight? How did Jesus resist temptation? How did he stay 100% focused on what he came here to do and accomplish from the Father? It was the joy set before him. Are you seeing the connection here? Are you seeing the pattern of it's that thing that's before you, that purpose, that why, that mission, that aim, that glorious aim, that emotional aim that causes us. If it's true for Jesus, if it's true for Paul, it's true for us. That's what ultimately will cause us to endure all of the hardship, all the suffering, go through all the challenges. Bill collectors calling, things are happening, people get sued, you go through bankruptcy, if something happens to you, you get ripped off, taken advantage of you. How do you not quit? You get fired from a job. Talked to a few people this week that have had that happen. How do you keep pushing through when you want to give up? Take a cue from Jesus. Okay. Let's talk about another passage. And this will be really good for y'all. If this is helpful and God is touching you and working in your life right now, let me know in the chat. Okay. Because I know when I read this, I am whew, like I get rocked again. By this we know love, 1 John 3:16, that he laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us love not in word or talk, but in deed and truth. And y'all know James talks about this. Oh, I'm going to pray for you, be warm and well fed. But if you do nothing for their needs, that's not love. That's not love. And you can't give what you don't have. If you don't have resources to give, if you don't have the world's goods, you can't help a brother in need. Why do you want financial freedom? Do you want it so that you can take selfies on Instagram and talk about how cool your life is? Of course not, right? We're all Christians here. That's not our goal. It's because you want to help your brothers and sisters. You want to help people in need. You want to do good to the household of God. And what's so interesting, again, when you look at this passage, when it says, like, closes his heart against him, closes his heart against him, what does that mean? It means literally to shut off compassion. There's a valve in our hearts that we have. It's a compassion valve, and it gets shut off sometimes. There's a love valve that gets shut off sometimes. There's a purpose valve that gets shut off sometimes. And then we wonder why nothing is flowing in our life. We're not staying consistent. We're not sticking with what we came here and set out to do. But if we look here, it was, again, the love of Jesus, but ultimately it's our love for others. When we see him, he laid down his life, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. This is what ultimately will motivate you. It was love from Jesus, and that's the same thing. What causes us to lay down our lives and to do the hard, scary things? It's because of love, people. It's love. Do you have any idea how hard it is to run a business like this sometimes? Not everyone is easy. Not everyone is compliant. Not everyone believes that we actually care about people. Some people think that we don't. We're just in it for ourselves. We don't care. I mean, it's unfortunate, but a lot of people have been burned by a lot of people in their past, have been abused, taken advantage of, ripped off, scammed. And so they project that onto us. It's not easy. There's days where it's hard. There's days where you want to throw in the towel. I've had that many times over my business, but what causes me to go? Why is it, how is it that when I looked at so many of my peers in this space, year after year, I kept seeing them getting picked off? It was like survival, survivor. They just kept, people kept dropping off. And before you know it, they've shut down their businesses. What happens? I can tell you the number one reason why it was because they did it for the money and not for the mission. They didn't have a really strong purpose that motivated them. They didn't have a why that compelled them emotionally to do the things that you would never do unless it was for love. So you have to have love. You have to have this gripping, just heart. Your heart has to pound. The hairs on your neck have to stand up. And when you think about it, like I said, it almost has to bring you, if not every time, bring you to tears. The thought of it. And when you have that, I'm telling you, people, you can endure anything. Anyone on my team knows this. When we've had hard months, things like this, it's the love that God puts in my heart for you, for everyone who's here, even the people that aren't here right now, and helping you achieve your goals and success. And seeing our vision is 1 million debt-free millionaires for the kingdom of God by 2030. And I picture 12 huge stadiums throughout the entire country filled to the brim of Jesus worshipers who are completely financially free. They are loaded. We look at the screen, and on the screen we put up Bible translations from Wycliffe, places like that, and we instantly we translate Bibles like this because everyone's got the money. How many of you guys would love to be a part of that? I know I'm like, oh man, I'm so giddy. Yeah, I love that. I'm totally all in, right? I'm all in for that. So I picture that, and that's what compels me. It's like when I put myself in that stage, I could do anything. I can do anything right now. I can endure any hardship, any challenge, anything that doesn't work out. We've even for this event, we had certain hopes and aspirations. A lot of them were hit, some of them weren't. There's things that if I focused on the things that didn't work out, oh, so many people only showed up for this, or only this happened, or like I would be upset. I just like throw in the towel. It's not for me. But when I get reconnected to purpose and I remember why God has put me here, which I truly believe is what I'm embracing, I can do anything. I can push through anything. I can do it. And you can too. I'm going to read one more verse, then we're going to go through our exercise. This is a really powerful verse, okay? How many of you can resonate with fear getting in the way of taking action? Okay, one honest person, two honest people, three. Okay. I can tell you in what we do in our business, when we're working with clients, I would say the number one thing that prevents people from moving forward is fear. But I want to give you a simple truth that will completely change your life. And it's not from me, it's from the big guy. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. Okay, so it's a little bit a different. I'm going to talk more about the concept of this more than anything. So here he's talking about there's no fear in love, perfect love casts out fear. There's, you know, God obviously displayed his love in a certain way, right? And when we're not afraid of that punishment because of what he's borne for us born for us on the cross and the punishment that he took, we don't have to be living in that fear of condemnation and punishment. And so perfect love, the love of God casts out that kind of fear. But I would also argue this is how it works human to human, that in the same way, us having that love for God and knowing his love for us, it's what casts out fear, not only of punishment, but I would also argue, I've seen in practice, it's what casts out fear for taking the next scary step. Let me give you an example of this practically, okay, everybody? We have a client, Renji and Nina, who just joined us like about a week ago. And he has a social media presence and a following. And for his business, in order for him to get more clients, he has to go live more on social media, right? If people don't know about you, how can they ever follow you, right? How can they ever work with you? You have to make yourself visible. So one of the things that was holding him back, we had another client as well who was working. She's got this really cool offer she wants to start. She's been able to help. She helps really older men with prostate issues, to be able to heal and to post surgery and all that kind of stuff. And she's absolutely amazing. And she was getting stuck. And she was like, I know I need to do this. I need to put my offer out there. I need to finish this training, get this video out there, things, or text my friends, whatever, or text the people in my network and say, hey, who do you know that might need help healing their prostate? For Renji and Nina, was like, who do you know that might be want help with their insurance or whatever, hitting those financial goals? So the question was, what was really holding them back? And one of the things that it really just was like from God, is they were focusing on themselves and not on the people that needed them. When she focused on herself, she's overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, so much time. Oh my gosh. Her name is Dixie. She's one of our favorite clients. I love her. But she's like, so much time. I don't have it. Right? So much energy. I don't have it. I'm already working a full-time job and I got to do this thing. And there's a part of her who wants it, but there's another part of her who's like, girl, you can't do this right now. This is totally unrealistic. Any of you guys ever been there? There's a part of you that wants it, but another part's like, no, you can't handle this. You can't do this right now. This is crazy. So, but what got her over that in the moment to say, you know what? I'm going to push through. I'm going to follow through. Love. Love. I said, think about the people who need you. Think about the clients who need you. Think about all the people out there that are going to commit suicide. She had one guy specifically that she mentioned that actually did back in the day because he was so hopeless after that surgery. He couldn't heal. I mean, it was really awful. Like, he was like, I think he was like wetting himself, things like that. It was just really awful. He was very humiliated. Couldn't go out, I think, with his buddies, golf, anything. And the guy eventually committed suicide. And it was awful. And I was like, how many more people do you want to allow that to happen before you reach out and let them know what you can do to help them? And love is what got her over herself in that moment. Renji Nita, that's what got them over themselves in the moment to say, we're going to keep going live because people have a problem that we can solve. And if we don't help them, their life is going to fall apart. And I promise you, every single person on this call has somebody that is counting on you. You may not even know them yet, but I promise you there's at least one person who needs you to step up, who needs you to say yes to love and to purpose and to say no to fear, no to sin, no to shallow, no to any of those excuses, right? They need you to say yes to your purpose. And so I want to encourage you guys. What we're going to do here. If everyone paid, and I love by all the interaction, all the people on camera. Thank you guys for showing up and playing full out. I love it. What we're going to do here is hey guys, can you try to stay muted, please? Thank you. What we're going to do is we're going to go through a little exercise here and we're going to get you super anchored on your why. Who's up for that? Okay. And I'll just give you an example. Like this morning when I was listening to this one worship song, I was at the gym and I was like in the cold plunge and I was thinking about you. I was thinking about love. And there was a specific moment, there was a specific scene. So while I'm queuing this up, get out a pen or paper, get something to write with. Okay. Something to write with. But there was this one song and it's what absolutely wrecked me. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share this with you. I don't know if you guys can hear. Can you hear this? Raise your hand.
Jesus, 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 we thank you that your blood was spilled.
So I was just listening to this, right? And I've had challenges already this morning. I've had things not go my way this morning, just like you. I've had things that were difficult, but I was worshiping and I was just listening to this song and it was touching me. But you want to know what really gripped me? You want to know the thing that really made me absolutely just come alive? This moment. Listen.
We cry out for lost family members. We cry out for campuses, Jesus. We cry out, God. We cry out for America, God. Come on, lift your voice in this place tonight. Your blood made a way. Your blood.
Guys, like that's what does it. Like, like it's thinking about like who are the lost souls where if we don't help you guys get financial freedom, if we don't help you get freed up and have lives where you can be just more of a light and you can let yourself shine because you're not weighed down by the burdens of finances, where you can give generously to the people in need, your friends, your family members, the missions, your church, your community, the nations, the Bible translations, the people that are in sex trafficking that are still stuck. Like if I just was like, if we don't do that, we failed. We have to make that happen. I don't care how many scary things we have to do. Guys, there's stuff I'll spend. Sometimes I might spend money and sign up for something that's like another $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 investment. Why do I do it? It's because of the mission. I don't do it because it feels good. It sucks. You don't think I'd rather take that money and just go do something else with it? No, it's hard, but I reinvest in myself. I reinvest in our business and things because I want to change lives. I want to save lives. That's what drives me. That's what compels me to do everything that I do, ultimately. And the same thing can happen to you. And I'm telling you guys, if you started off your mornings like this and you got anchored to your purpose and you got anchored to your why and you remembered who needed you, who's counting on you to show up. I remember like CJ, we just talked about this night. CJ signed up. She's doing this real estate thing. CJ, I know, I'm telling you, girl, if every day you wake up and you get clear on why am I doing this? Why am I going to watch that video, do that training, knock on that door, meet with that mentor, do that, all the 15,000 different things you're going to have to do before you get to the closing table. I'm telling you, you can do it. It's love, but I'm telling you, all the people that are going to quit, it's the number one reason why. It's because they don't have that burning purpose and desire. And love is what will compel you. Some of you guys don't know. There was a point before I started this company, when I was just getting into business, right? And I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I don't know what marketing is and sales and profit and ROI. I don't know what any of this stuff means, right? But I was like, I started a candle company. And then I was like, well, I don't really like candles. It's like, I don't really care enough about this. And then at one point it was bamboo sunglasses because it was going to be passive income. I read the 4-hour work week and it messed with my head. And I spent like 40 hours working on this project. And eventually I was like, there's going to become a moment in time where I have to actually market this and take pictures and I'm gonna have to compete with people and I'm gonna have to have like models and hire them to model. I was like, I don't care about fashion. So I dropped it, right? I had no love for that. I've had no purpose. There was nothing greater compelling me. So the moment that I realized there was going to be a challenge, I just dropped it. Okay. But guys, there's a reason why we've been sticking with this business for years and years and years and years. When trust me, there's so many other things I could be doing right now. It's because of that love. It's because of that mission. So what we're going to do for you is help you achieve the same thing right now. Are you guys all in? I'm telling you, be all in for the next 25 minutes could completely change your life, radically change your life. So I want you guys to take a moment, get out a pen and paper, like I just said, or whatever you want to do to write this out. And what we're going to do is we're going to get you connected to your purpose and your why. Everyone ready to play full out for this? I promise you, you will not be the same person. Okay. Whatever your goals are. Now, obviously, this is mainly, we're going to talk about your financial goals, but it could be anything else. It could be fitness. It could be anything else. I mean, this stuff applies to your relationships, whatever, but we're going to focus on wherever you want to focus on today. That's fine. But obviously, a lot of you are here because you're wanting to get a big breakthrough in your finances. So what I want everyone to do is I want you to start writing this out. Okay. Actually, more importantly, take a moment. Can everyone just close your eyes for a second? Put your hands on your heart. Okay. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a moment and I want you to now, guys, this has to be like a movie, right? Movies, the more vivid they are and emotional are, or the more vivid the picture is, the clearer the picture is, the more emotional it is. You guys get that, right? All the movies that make you cry, it's because you're watching a scene. You see a tear go down the eyes. You see you have a moment where, oh my gosh, that just gripped me. So it has to be vivid. It has to be emotional. It has to be vivid. So what I want you to do, now we're going to start dark and then we're going to go happy. Okay. So don't worry about it. We're going to have a lot of fun by the end, but just take a moment. And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself and ask God to give you clarity on this. There is nothing wrong with taking a moment and thinking about the consequences of not having your purpose. And that's what we're going to start with. So everyone to take a moment, take a deep breath. And what I want you to do is I want you to imagine yourself a few years down the road, but I want you to picture what your life would look like if nothing changed. And I know that this is hard. I know this is hard, but please keep your eyes closed and try to picture this. And I want you to vividly try to picture what is it going to feel like when you're at church and there's an offering and there's a need. If you don't have more than you have right now, what's that going to feel like? I want you to picture a moment like, let's just say Christmas, or it could be a birthday. It's whatever you want, but I want you to picture a scene. And if nothing changed in your life, what would that moment be like for you? When you're with your loved ones, what would crush you? I want you to think about someone in your life that is really counting on you, a need that they have right now. It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a cousin, it could be a neighbor, it doesn't matter. But I want you to picture one person in your mind. Who's one person in your mind right now that needs you to step up? They need your generosity to get through this season of their life. And if you look down the road, if nothing changes and you can't help that, what's going to happen to them? For some of you, you've got someone in your life who has a major health issue that they need some money for. They need to hire that doctor. They need to get that prescription. They need to get that medication. They need to get that food. They need to get that trainer. They need to get something to get them through it. And they need you to show up for them. And you got to think, what's going to happen if things don't change? Are you going to be at a funeral? Are you going to be before a casket? What's that scene going to be? Be vividly, brutally honest with yourself and allow your emotions to flow. Don't stop it. If you feel tension in your body, take a deep breath and release it. I want you to absolutely get connected to your heart. Let it flow. Who's somebody else that desperately needs you? Is there a cause? Is there, some of you are into Compassion International. Some of you are into helping people with sex trafficking. Is there someone specific that you can think of that desperately needs you? What is their life going to look like in a few years? Or eventually, if you don't step up? What is that scene going to be like? What is that moment going to look like if they don't have you there? For some of you, you've got your own health challenges. Some of you guys have kids. Some of you guys have family members. If you don't get to the root of so much of this stress, if you can't get freed up to take care of yourself financially, what's going to happen to your family? Who's going to be there for them? Who's going to be taking care of them? Who's going to be walking that kid down the aisle on their wedding day? Who's going to be there for the graduation, for the grandbabies? If you don't get well, let yourself go there. even further down the road. Think about it. There's a crisis right now in our country. I'm telling you, nobody is saving for the future, for retirement. Some of you have kids. Some of you have no one. But I want you to picture, if you don't start saving for that, what's that moment going to be like when you have to go to those loved ones and beg and hope and pray that they can take care of you because your body's not working? You're not able to work. There's not enough money. Social insecurity is not enough. Do you really want to put that burden on them? I want you to picture yourself knocking on the door and seeing that look on their face. I'm telling you, this is most people in our country. I don't care how much money you're making. I'm seeing it left and right. Do you really want to do that to them? And if you don't show them a better way financially, what are the odds they're going to be feeling stressed out? And do you think about that? Now they're having to take care of you, themselves, their kids. Do you really want to do that to them? That's my worst nightmare. But if things don't change, what's going to happen? Get connected to that. But what I want to do is take a moment and I want you to picture yourself. Everyone, if you can, keep your eyes closed, keep your hands on your heart. Okay, I want you to picture there in the hospital room and you're seconds away from meeting Jesus. And you've got certain people standing around you. And what would it feel like if in that moment you knew that you didn't stick with your purpose? To have the regret of knowing that you could have done so much more for him. You could have helped so many other people, but you didn't. What would tear you up the most if you're in that moment knowing that there's a chance you might not hear "well done, good and faithful servant"? Take it in. Take it in. We're all going to stand before the throne one day, and we're going to hear one of two things. Depart from me, I never knew you, or well done. How do you want to live this life? Okay. Now here's what I want to do on the flip side, okay? We're going to have some fun, okay? Everyone just kind of shake it off for a second. Okay, thank you for playing Full Out. Now we're going to have some fun. So same thing, but we're going to flip it on its head, right? So take a moment. Again, if you can, eyes closed, hands on your heart. But I want you to picture yourself. It could be a year, a few years down the road. But what would your life look like if you were financially free? And for some of you, that means different things. Some of you, it's having zero debt. Like, what would it feel like? What would that moment be like if you allow yourself to just breathe in that moment, take it in, to officially be debt-free, have no more debt? For some of you, it's having like 6 months worth of savings. Like, what would it feel like to be able to log into your bank account and to picture that and see that number right now? If you can see it, like, what's that number for you that would bring so much peace, so much relief? Because now, if someone needs it, whether that's you, your family members, someone in need, you got it there. You don't have to worry anymore. You can help. What's your health like? What things are you able to do physically that you couldn't do before? What kind of care are you able to afford? What kind of things are you saying yes to that you could never have done before? See it, envision it. Try to picture it to the best of your abilities. What's a special gift that you would give to someone in your family, someone in your church, friend, somebody? I'm sure we all have at least one person that we would love to bless. What would it feel like, unlike we did before, where we couldn't do it? What would it feel like to give them that gift? Maybe it's a car that they need. One of my clients was able to bless. I don't know if you know who Walker Hayes is. He was able to give him his car, and now Walker's a famous country star. He has a song called Craig. It's all about it. that was a catalyst for bringing him to the Lord. What would it be like to be able to give a gift like that? To put someone through school that couldn't go through school. For my stepdad, it was brew school. He went from being stuck at Home Depot, or not my stepdad, my father-in-law, stuck at Home Depot in a job he hated, and now he works at a top brewery and he does what he does every day and loves it. Because we were blessed to be able to serve him and give him that gift of putting him back through school. What is that thing that you want to be able to do so bad that would make you feel like $1 million to accomplish? A picture, what's that mission? What's that church cause, that charity? What's that check? I want you to picture yourself sitting there, whether it's in church or at a gala, if you've ever been to one. And I want you, right now, everyone in your mind, keep your eyes closed. I want you to pull out your wallet, get out your checkbook for those of us who still have checks. And what's that number that you're writing? What do you see? How does it feel now to rip that check off and feel that tearing, hear that tear, and to put it in the plate? Knowing that you could have never have done that years before, but now because you're positioned, because you have done the hard things, you've taken those scary steps, you've pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone, you were able to make it happen. How does that feel? It's one of the best feelings ever. People who say money doesn't buy happiness have not given enough of it away. How does it feel? Take it in. Take it in. And is there anything else in this moment you would want to grab as a beautiful picture, a beautiful moment? Again, keep your eyes closed. Try to picture it as vividly as you can, like your favorite movie. For some of you, it might be putting in your resignation at your job and being able to not have to work there anymore. For some of you, it could be being able to have your first $1 million year in your business. What's that thing? What do you want? Why? What is your purpose? What would it be like to, like I said earlier, there was a picture of Christmas in your mind, and you've got your friends, you've got your family members around you, people that are near and dear to you, and you're handing out gifts, and they're gifts that you could have never given out and blessed people with, gifts that touch their heart. Gifts, some of you guys have estranged family members, and I have seen people with estranged family members, when you are able to actually bless them in a tangible and physical way, it's amazing how much repair work can be done. People that are estranged from you, friends and broken relationships you haven't been able to repair. Trust me, I'm telling you, just like Jacob and Esau, sending something beforehand, a caravan, it can soften people up a little bit. It's amazing. So feel it, take that in. What would it feel like to be that blessing? To just give so generously, to see the tears on their faces, to see them lighting up like a Christmas tree. Because you position yourself with God's help to be able to bless them in that way. How would that feel? Picture it, feel it, take it in. Some of you guys want to be able to buy your dream home, and you want to do it because you want to be able to have a more hospitable environment. You want to be able to house people in need. You want to be able to foster. You want to be able to adopt. You want to be able to bring in the sick and the needy. You want to be able to have family over and have a safe place for them. That's a beautiful thing. Let love compel you into that vision right now. What would it feel like to be walking through that house, seeing that those new rooms, the space, the yard? What would it be like? It's okay to want stuff like this, guys. Everything that I envision for my goals, ultimately, my aim is to connect it to a greater purpose of how I can love and serve people. Who are the people that you would love to be able to have just stay over even for months? Would you want to house missionaries? Would you foreign exchange students? Like, how would you want to use that home for the gospel? Picture it. How amazing would it feel? to just sit there, to lie in the bed at night and to breathe that huge sigh of relief. And you're there and you can't believe it's real. It's like, pinch me, I'm dreaming, but you can because you believe for it and you worked for it. And God bless the work of your hands. How would that feel? Breathe it in. Take it in. Now, future, let's go a little bit future like I did earlier. So just like I said, you're on your deathbed, you've got your family, the people closest to you around you, the people you've impacted, you've mentored, you've been able to change their lives through your generosity. And how does it feel in that moment to feel proud by God's grace of the life that you've lived, knowing that you held nothing back, you left it all in the like you left it all in the court. You did the hard things, you accomplished the goals, you gave radically of your life, of your possessions, you changed lives, you left an impact on your family members, your kids, your grandkids. They're different people because of you, because of the example and the life that you lived and led. Generations are there because they remember you and they're grateful for you and you've inspired them. Books are going to be written about you. How would that feel? Where your life was so amazingly inspiring that they never want to forget you. Now, even more importantly, and this is the best one, I want you to picture yourself in heaven, standing before the Lord. And how would it feel in that moment to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant"? To have him look at you with his eyes of fire. And you don't have to have your head just droopy in shame, but you're looking at him boldly with confidence, knowing that you honored him in everything in your life. Your money, your time, your relationships, your health, you gave it all for him. Like Paul, not aimlessly running around, but you had that prize in front of you and you worked for it and you left it all on the court for him. How would it feel that moment to have people running up? That's one of the things I picture. I picture just the millions of people, meeting them, knowing that they're there because of me. They're there because of the work that I did, the money that I gave, the gospel that I shared, all of those different things, the missionaries that I supported, the work of the gospel that I was able to contribute to. How would it feel to hear those stories of how God wove you into the tapestry and fabric of their life in ways that you didn't even know on this earth? How would it feel in those moments? And just take it in. Let that love explode out of your heart. Picture it vividly. Let those emotions flow. It's all yours. Take it in. All right. All right, you guys, you can open your eyes now. How do you feel? How many of you feel so good, like in your bodies, like you feel like so much peace? You feel so much love. You feel so much joy, gratitude. Yeah. It's a practice that we recommend every day.